All right, welcome back to another Caller Monday. Today we have a special guest, not the usual chat roulette bullshit we usually get up in here. Today we are joined by Dr. Norman Cartier, a clinical psychologist currently studying groupthink at the University of Boston. And that is all my notes say. So, Dr. Cartier, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Benjamin.
Usually I ask people what information they're comfortable giving out, but you've obviously given out your full name. We know where you're working, what you're working on. Why is it that you feel comfortable coming out and talking about IK now, considering all that's been happening?
Because my research has reached a point that I feel it's absolutely imperative that I share it with the world. I don't know if it will stop the killings, but it will perhaps give your listeners more of an understanding of what's behind IK's head.
Okay, great. Well, I understand that you're studying groupthink at the University of Boston with a particular focus on cult of personality. So my first question for you is, how do you think cults of personality have evolved in our current age of social media?
There have been cults of personality for centuries. However, there's an access now which was not available before. We had just people listening to politicians. Then with the advent of media, television, and radio, people were interested, but there was not as much of a give and take. Now with social media, there is give and take. There's likes, there's comments, there's feelings, there's tweets. We can be more part of the situation. It's more interactive. There's
the old argument that we've been conditioned into violence and seeing horrible things because we watch it on the news every night. And then something like IK comes along and it just explodes. It goes everywhere. Why do you think she's doing so well on social media?
It's interesting, Ben, that you use phrases like explodes and cuts through, which are, of course, very violent and abhorrent visuals.
Yeah, but why do you think people are following? Why aren't people just turning up their nose and saying, oh, no, this is crazy. I don't want anything to do with this. I'm following. I'm assuming you've been following her work to some extent. So why is that?
I feel there's somewhat of a bloodlust, shall we say, about people are interested in viewing more and more and more, and they can't get enough. And that's akin to putting a little heart or a comment or a like, shall we say, on something. They're not liking it, but they aren't disliking it at the same time. They're just consuming it.
Okay, that's some great points there, but she's really found a way to bridge the haters and the fans and get everyone on board and following her. Why do you think that is? Do you think it goes back to, like, we have this curiosity of the macabre, but we have to look. We can't not.
That's what my research has shown, and it basically gets back to the most basic of human instincts. I mean, we can't look away, as we had said, but you have a feeling you must know more. I mean, even if you feel, oh, I don't like this, you want to know more. It's like a drug. It's an online drug, shall we say. People are hooked. They want to know more about IK. They need to keep watching so they know what happens next.
Some really interesting points you brought up, but what do you think can be done about IK? Is there anything that we can do in the general public to stop her, stem the flow of bloodshed, basically? Or is this just a runaway train at this point?
I feel there's nothing that one can do at this point. We have to let it run its course. I mean, watch your respective backs. Know that IK is something that all of us, myself included, yourself included too, Ben, that has, through social media, has created. So IK will do what she will do, and eventually she will stop. As all things, I mean, eventually every book has a final page.
Do you really think she'll stop, or she'll have to be stopped? Because the fan side of IK followers, not the haters, the fan side has kind of exploded. So she's still gaining momentum. Does she have an end game, do you think? Is she going to stop, or is this will she just keep going as long as she can?
Only IK can answer that truthfully herself, but I feel that as long as people continue to be interested in her, she will take that as almost an invitation to keep going.
Yeah, it also goes back into our online culture, which is you must keep producing content. You must keep producing content. Doesn't matter good or bad. It just has to keep going out and keep going out. But why do you think we haven't seen something like IK before? Or is this just the start, potentially, of a new type of killer, the online killer?
I feel that, unfortunately, this is the start of something new with the advent of social media. I mean, yes, we've had media for a while. But social media is a fairly recent thing. We've had killers for a while, yes, but something like this is fairly new, and I believe we are in for a whole new evolution of murdering.
So one last question for you. Do you think that IK's cult of personality is it going to hit a plateau, or is it just going to continue to grow?
I think it will continue to grow, and essentially, people have a need to know. It's the old, was the dress blue? Was the dress green? Was it gold? I mean, it's irrelevant. People want to know, they have to know. Inquiring minds want to know.
All right, good stuff. Well, thank you, Dr. Cartier. That's all the time we have. We're going to leave it there. And good luck in your further research. We'd love to have you back on if you have some time in the future.
Of course, Benjamin, would be wonderful.
All right, have a good night. Thank you all for listening. We've been chatting with Dr. Norman Cartier, sharing his thoughts on the image killer. Now, hopefully we'll get to see some more of his research in the future. And Doctor, if you want to come back and share that, that'd be fantastic. And that is all I've got for you guys. All right, good night.